coming. May I have your attention, please? Attention, please. Good night to everyone. And thank you very much for coming. My name is Marlon Anton James, and I have the privilege of serving as your chairperson this evening. At this time, I invite those of you seated to stand for the opening prayer and the Urumi song. This would be done by Ebu Fermin Arzu and Sofia Blanco, members of the visiting Garifuna delegation. And I ask that you remain standing following the prayer and the song for the national anthem of St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
Tagaira bay wayuna yuru mai tagaira bay wagota ni babagara bugara wabo waruwaite ni babadaga bugara wabo ni babagara bugara wabo ni babagara bugara wabo walo wahena ya garinago walede. Muy buenas noches, mi nombre es Sofía Blanco Arzu. Yo soy de Livingston, Izabal, Guatemala, Centroamérica.
Baitigonyo. Ine Mabuigo. Thanks to the Most High, the Creator of the universe, for the opportunity that we are having to gather here tonight. If it isn't for the Most High, none of us will be here. We must be thankful for everything that comes to in our life. This is not a day of celebration, even though we are here together to commemorate a whole lot of things that have gone through our lives. That's why we are asking that everything that goes and happens here should be through the grace of Lord. Bunjo Noguchi. Amuri agwa wa motivo bunyole. Lubarara mubala wa usongwa durugwa lwago. Lugundo mege wa motivo. Labu agwa le resibironewa Prime Minister Rav Gonsalves Lubaga no Terugu. Lumeme badonde rubela. Tautaruma anigi. Lula gunfule rula gawagu bedo ya gunyole. Amuri hawa muti lira buma bureme. Labu egua sum lidayaru ferudo na bege wabule dagu. Labu egua umalale babuse rube lu weibugu ne bola. Labu lawa lidayaru. Bomo egua te sunkate buvichi sunkate. Seremen, seremen, seremen. Good night. We all be blessed.
Thank you very much. And now we have the national anthem of St. Vincent and the Grenadines sung in Garifuna. Please be seated, everyone. And for honoring our country with that rendition of our anthem, sung in Garifuna very beautifully, I thank the students of the Habinaha Garinaga Urumi. They are products of the Dance Garifuna, St. Vincent and the Grenadines 2023 workshop, a language retrieval program which used the arts, dance, drama, song, and so on, to teach the Garifuna culture. At this time, I acknowledge the presence of Dr. the Honorable Ralphie Gonsalves, Prime Minister of St. Vincent and Grenadines, and Mrs. Gonsalves, the Honorable Rochelle Ford, Speaker of the House of Assembly, the Honorable Frederick Stevenson, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Foreign Trade, and Consumer Affairs, the Honorable Carlos James, Minister of Tourism, Civil Aviation, Sustainable Development, and Culture, members of the Diplomatic Corps, the Honorable René Batiste, Speaker of the OECS Assembly, Mr. Rodney McIntosh, Consul General of St. Vincent and the Grenadines in New York, Mr. Trevor Garibali Palacio, President of the International Garifuna Conference and leader of the Garifuna Heritage Rite and Passage and Pilgrimage Delegation, Chief Queen Mother Frida Sidroff, leader of the Urumi Royal Delegation, other members of the visiting Garifuna delegation, Mrs. Zoila Ellis-Brown, technical advisor to the Garifuna Heritage Foundation in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, permanent secretaries and heads of departments, other senior civil servants, other specially invited guests, members of the media, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure to welcome you to this cocktail reception as we celebrate the Garifuna Homecoming 2025, Rite of Passage and Pilgrimage. Earlier today, I had the honor of chairing Day 3 of the International Garifuna Conference, where I witnessed firsthand the profound pleasure of the visiting Garifuna delegation. It was truly inspiring to see the delegation's pride in our heritage and just how much joy they have in being here in Urumi. And I believe that this sense of community and cultural richness is what we gather to celebrate tonight. During this cocktail, we'll honor the vibrant Garifuna culture in all its forms, the music, the rich language, the warmth of the people, things that really define the Garifuna community. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome and enjoy the evening as we celebrate the unbridled spirit of Garifuna culture. With that said, I now invite to deliver the official welcome remarks the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Foreign Trade, and Consumer Affairs, the Honorable Frederick Stevenson. Put your hands together as he comes.
Thank you very much, Lady of Ceremonies, Dr. the Honorable Ralph Gonsalves, Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and Mrs. Gonsalves, the Honorable Rochelle Ford, Speaker of the House of Assembly, the Honorable Carlos James, Minister of Tourism, Civil Aviation, Sustainable Development and Culture, other cabinet colleagues, members of the Diplomatic Corps, Mr. Trevor Palacio, President of the International Garifuna Conference and leader of the Garifuna Heritage Rite of Passage and Pilgrimage Delegation, Queen Mother Frida, other members of the visiting Garifuna delegation, Mrs. Zoila Ellis-Brown, Technical Advisor to the Garifuna Heritage Foundation here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I recognize C.G. McIntosh and his wife. Sister René Batiste. Other members of the Garifuna Heritage Foundation, permanent secretaries and heads of departments, other senior civil servants, specially invited guests, members of the media, Good evening, everyone. Good evening. I'm very happy to be here this evening to welcome all of you to this cocktail reception as we receive you, our brothers and sisters, to your homeland, Urame, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Welcome home. We are very beamed with pride here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, as in the month, the Heritage Month of March, that we can see many of our brothers and sisters of this beautiful land of ours, Urame, otherwise called St. Vincent and the Grenadines, returning home. Many of you for the first time, some of you returning residents, and those of you who are listening via the social media, it is indeed a pleasure for me as the Minister of Foreign Affairs to bring these brief welcoming remarks. Just a few days ago, the Parliament of St. Vincent and the Grenadines declared the island of Baliso, where many centuries ago, over 5,000 of the descendants of the Garifuna people were exiled. And within a matter of months and years, only 1,500 persons remained. Many of them perished because of the harsh conditions on Baliso. And the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines at this present time, the Unity Labour Party government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, have decided, as a matter of ensuring that the Garifuna people are remembered and recognized fully, that we have passed in the Parliament a law to say that the island of Baliso is patronage now of St. Vincent and the Grenadines and home of all of us, the Garifuna people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and we welcome that, and we need to put our hands together for the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. A few days ago, I was in Washington at the meeting for the election of the new Secretary General of the OAS, and I had very favorable conversations with a member of Parliament from Belize. Present time, but yes, yes, thank you very much. And she was very happy, and she was very proud of the achievements of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and she's asked me, Prime Minister, to extend to you her greetings and the greetings of the Garifuna people of Belize, that they have a wonderful homeland here in St. Vincent, Urame, as she calls it. It is an important time in the history of our people, that out of the 1,500 or so Garifuna who left Belize and went on to Roatan and other islands, Honduras, Guatemala, that according to the international records, there are over 600,000 Garifuna people throughout the world, and we put our hands together. And so I welcome you here this evening, and it is my prayer that you will enjoy the proceedings, and that we will enjoy ourselves together as we continue to build this Garifuna nation, and to say to you
She amplifies indigenous voices through film, music, and cultural advocacy. Ladies and gentlemen, Queen Mother. Chief Queen Mother, Frida Simon.
Honorable Prime Minister Ralph Gonsalves, Serena, thank you. I am grateful that in our lifetime that you have been true to your words. I imagine that our ancestors who perished not only upon the land of Jerusalem, but those who were corralled from this land, from this island, to the island of Baliso. Ancestors, may you begin to find some peace. For those in Honduras, your cries are being heard. For those in Nicaragua and Belize, Livingston, Guatemala, our sacred ancestral places, may we slowly begin to find healing in all of our broken places. Thank you so much, each and every one of you, for being present tonight. I bring greetings from all of our Garifuna communities, and I thank you all for being present here tonight, including my husband and my beautiful daughter, Serena.
Remarks and for expressing the gratitude felt by the Garifuna delegation. We move on now with the program, and we have another Garifuna speaker. This time it's Mr. Trevor Palacio, who is the leader of the Rite of Passage and Pilgrimage delegation.
Wadeira nege buga lili buglele. Carlos Sanchez. Abawawo hongi biri buga baven buga wayano habongwa wangwa. Awengo kama sangi bichigato. So about a year or so ago, we got together and we said, what are we going to name this man? Right? We contacted Onagale, Juan Carlos Sanchez, who we want to thank all the way from St. Vincent and Grenadines for the work. He hasn't been here, but he's been working with us on the background. Ultimately, Princess Elokia and I, Queen Mother and I, and the others, and the name came up being Lonagale Joseph Chatoye. And then our Ebu comes in and he said, Lo Nagale Abuti Chief Joseph Chateau. Yeah. So what that means is Lo Nagale means messenger of Chief Joseph Chateau. Yay. Now, if that's not significant to you, you don't know what's going on. This is what, 2 years ago, Prime Minister, when we gave you that name? It's not because we're prophets or anything like that, but maybe we can prophesy. People don't know who Garifuna people are. I'll tell you a secret, Garifuna people don't know who they are. We don't. Clueless to it. But you were named not Lonagale Chief Joseph Abuti Chateauye by us. No, it was divine. We want you to know that. Which is why our Queen Mother only broke down in tears, because seldom do we have politicians who make promises that they keep. But when you are driven and guided by divine purpose, guess what? Hombre propone, pero Dios dispone. But when you are driven by that element of purpose, there's a saying in Spanish, hombre propone, pero Dios dispone. Man proposes, but God disposes. Again, if you don't know what's going on, where are you? It's 2025. Minister of Tourism, Carlos James, thank you. Minister of Foreign Affairs, Brother Frederick, thank you. David Williams, I don't see you, brethren, thank you. Zoila Ellis, it's me, Garabali. We fight all the time. I love you. I love you. Because irrespective of the going back and forth, we keep our eyes on the prize. And what is the prize? You see, hombre propone, pero Dios dispone. You see, man proposes, but God disposes. You see, when they put us on the island of Balisau, all 4,746 of us, 1,693 children, it was with an intention to banish us. Irrespective of what they say, it was an intention to make sure that the gift that we possess as Garinagu, as Garifuna people, disappears. That's what they wanted to do. But guess what? God was the one who disposed. Frederick, you said it. You said 600,000, brother, but you off by like 200,000. We do the math. The reason we know you were speaking to Sister Martha Flores Robinson is because we're being guided by the Spirit. And we spoke to her before we even got here. And by the time you mentioned her name, we said, Martha Flores Robinson. Yeah? We want to thank all of you. Three that we want to close this comment with. My brother Gustavo Santos, the first elected. Garifuna, not Carib. Because Garifuna are not Caribs. Caribs are not Garifuna. Let's get that straight. The first elected Garifuna politician in the United States of America. Please, round of applause. Thank you, sir. Our brethren is not here, Dr. Kadreen Gill. He is the gatekeeper that opened this pathway for us. Round of applause for him, please. We want to combine these two. That's Ambassador Alan Alexander and my brother from another mother, Rondi McIntosh. Last but not least, the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Prime Minister, when I first met you, I said this to you, and I'm going to say it to you again. Prime Minister, and we say this in every country, please forgive us for this. We're not here for the politics in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We're not here for the rhetoric between the parties, whether it's 8 or 2. We're here for Vincentians. Yeah? For the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And you, sir, continue to prove that that is also your focus. Not that partisan thing out there. Because this man serves Vincentians, whether they're here or there. And we want to thank him, if we could give him a round of applause for that. Itarala.
Thank you very much, Mr. Palacio, the President of the International Garifuna Council, an organization focused on economic development, civic engagement, cultural retention, and other types of development in Garifuna countries, delivering his remarks there in a very animated fashion. Thank you very much. Now, over the last couple of weeks, we've been hearing a lot of Garifuna activities. In fact, today we wrapped up the 3-day 12th International Garifuna Conference. In February, there was a call for secondary school students to write essays on some topics, like their thoughts on whether or not the Garifuna language should be taught in schools. And there was also a Garifuna folk festival, which highlighted the creative expressions of our students. And all of these activities have been organized by the Garifuna. The technical advisor is, her name is Mrs. Zoila Ellis-Brown, and at this point, I invite her to speak.
Good evening, everyone. Please allow me to adopt the protocol that has been established. And Mabriga. I take this opportunity on behalf of the Garifuna Heritage Foundation to thank the organizers of this event for inviting me to bring remarks on behalf of the foundation. I wish to greet all Vincentians and my brothers and sisters from visiting delegations who are present. I would especially like to thank and mention our esteemed keynote speaker to our conference and chairperson of our Garifuna Reparations Working Group, Dr. Federico Lenzerini. Please stand, Dr. Lenzerini. Dr. Lenzerini is an Italian international law expert who traveled all the way here to be with us and to share his expertise with us on the issue of reparations, which is the subject matter of our conference. I would also like to recognize the presence of one of our presenters, our Caribbean colleague and attorney at law from Jamaica, Dr. Marcus Goff. Marcus, if you're present, please stand. He's not here. I am very honored to be here to deputize for the president of the foundation, Mr. David Darkey Williams, who was feeling unwell and who was unable to be present. We are proud to be living in this moment. This is a moment that concretizes much of what we struggled for at the Garifuna Heritage Foundation and what we have been involved in over the years. The work of public education and public awareness within Urume, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, is a significant part of our program. This work has involved networking with traditional Garifuna communities here in Urume, public sector agencies, private sector companies, and I must stop to recognize the Honorable, very Honorable Prior Minister of Culture, Ms. Renee Batiste. Please give her a round of applause for the initial work she did with culture, but also as chairperson of VINLEC, supporting our work this year. Thank you, Madam. We act also on behalf of ordinary Vincentians in order to advocate for the Garifuna heritage and culture to be recognized and supported as a significant element of the Vincentian identity. And that's not a completed task. It will take years to undo the work of centuries, but we will soldier on. This is a heritage and culture that has gained significant recognition internationally, including the recognition by UNESCO in 2001 of the Garifuna heritage and culture as a masterpiece of the intangible oral heritage of humanity. And we must never forget that. It is recognized internationally, and we have that work to do here, which is a significant process. But we in St. Vincent and the Grenadines have a lot of work to do. We are excited, however, and encouraged by the continued support of the Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines and his cabinet, the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and from Vincentians of all walks of life. We also are deeply moved by the support, as evidenced by their presence here in Urume now, at great expense to themselves, of our brothers and sisters from the diaspora. Yes. The Garifuna Heritage Foundation is particularly moved at the coming together of communities from outside of Urume and within Urume to celebrate and honor the acquisition of the island of Baliso. This year, as we hosted our 12th International Garifuna Conference, we brought together activists, academics, practitioners, researchers from all over the world. We intend to continue this work. Our conference and our activities will continue to energize Garifuna communities, locally and internationally, to work together in the future to strengthen their links with one another. We intend to collaborate on economic and social programs to develop a greater understanding of our Garifuna history and culture. Thank you for this opportunity, and God bless you all.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Ellis Brown, for your remarks and for the tremendous work that the Garifuna Heritage Foundation continues to do. The next speaker, it's now my pleasure to introduce him in his capacity as Minister of Culture, and we know that he has been a champion in his capacity as Minister of Culture for our cultural preservation and development. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me at this time to welcome the Minister of Tourism, Civil Aviation, Sustainable Development, and of course, Culture, the Honorable Carlos Graves.
Thank you very much, Chair. let me acknowledge the presence of Dr. the Honorable Ralph E. Gonsalves, Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, other cabinet colleagues, members of the Diplomatic Corps, Speaker of the House of Assembly, members of the local Garifuna organizations who are here present, and of course, let me take this opportunity to welcome you home, members of the visiting Garifuna delegations. Other distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good evening. It is really humbling to stand here to commemorate and to acknowledge once again the fantastic work that we do together, all of us collaboratively. Those who work here at home and those who are in the diaspora, who continue to work with our Consul General, the Regional Integration and Diaspora Unit, those who are part of the Garifuna delegations who are visited, who have put in so much effort into realizing this week of activities and this month in which we celebrate our heritage and our culture. I was doing some reflection recently and I came across the writings of Marx, whom many of us describe as a man before his time and very eccentric and stinking. He mentioned in the 1800s a very important point where he said, the consciousness of man is not determined by their being. It is in fact their social being that determines their consciousness. And what that represents is that everything around us, our cultural expression, our way of life, how we think, how we respond to each other as human beings in the social space that we exist in, it is what gives rise to our level of consciousness as a people. And I must single out our esteemed Prime Minister. 2 years ago, he said, the acquisition of Baliso by this government, it is an executive decision of the cabinet, that we will reclaim Baliso as part of the patrimony of this country. Is in fact a single act by one man and a cabinet of ministers that will give rise to our social being as a people and plant in the minds of every Vincentian here at home, every representative of the Garifuna community and civilization abroad, that level of consciousness to recognize and acknowledge our culture, our people, the struggles and sacrifices, and what Baliso represents to us. You can't have anything that is more deep and profound to create a sense of awakening among us as a people than this particular act. And I want to thank him immensely, because what he has done is he has paved and opened the door and paved the way. Not so much for us, and as much as we feel emotional about it, it is the generation that will come and the history, the story that will be told about this nation, this little nation, and its people, and its lost brothers and sisters in the diaspora, and what this represents for us. It is indeed something symbolic. And we all should acknowledge it. I hope that this symbol can create now even greater among us and within our hearts, both metaphorically and physically, that bridge that connects our civilization that is out there, the Garifuna people, to Uromi in a more deep and profound way. And I want us to use every opportunity that is possible. We've been doing it with the conference. We've been doing it with the homecoming. Let us use every available opportunity as social beings to work collectively to lift our consciousness as a people. I want to thank you and welcome you home to Uromi. God bless.
And we thank you very much, Minister James, for your remarks, particularly stimulating our thoughts to reflect on the profound importance of culture to our society. Thank you so much for that. We move on now with a cultural presentation, and this would be delivered by Renaissance Dance Company. Renaissance, the floor is yours. much. We did promise you that tonight promises to be everything Garifuna. We see it in the music, in the dance, and in every form. All right, so thanks very much. Put your hands once again together for the dancers of Renaissance Dance Company. At this time, ladies and gentlemen, we are privileged to have with us the Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, whose unwavering commitment to reclaiming Baliso has been instrumental. Yes, his commitment to reclaiming Baliso has been instrumental in righting this historic wrong. So at this point, I know the Prime Minister today at the international conference, he gave the backstory about the acquisition, and I know that tonight he would speak a little bit about that, and among other things. So at this point, let's put our hands together and welcome the Prime Minister.
Madam Master of Ceremonies, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters. First, let me welcome you to the official residence of the Prime Minister. And as you are aware, I have been the tenant at will at this place for the last 24 years. I say the tenant at will. You know, I'll tell you, I know in the United States of America, where you come from, many of you, you have a period where if there's a changing of the guard, for instance, you have a 3 months. You have your election on the first Tuesday in November, and then you take office on the 20th of January the following year. Well, our system, which we have inherited from the British, the parliamentary system, you lose the election, you're out of office immediately, which means that to respect the people, every election before I leave the day before the election, I have nothing in this residence belonging to me. The final thing I take is my toothbrush. I respect the people, just in case I move out everything. Of course, Eloise always, do we have to do this again? Do I have to pack again? And every 5 years and so on. I said, yes, we have to respect the electorate. And of course, has been happening since the dawn of the 21st century. After every election, I then swiftly move in back my toothbrush. And then the other things follow. So when I said that I'm a tenant at will, I'm genuinely a tenant at the people's will. I was very happy that you chose to have this event at the official residence of the Prime Minister. Because I know that our brothers and sisters who have come from overseas, I want them to know that this is also their home and they're always welcome here to be with us. We have had a history of pain and suffering since 1763. We have had our triumphs and our failures. We have had our setbacks and our advances. We have fallen down and we have picked ourselves up back. And whenever weeping endured for the night, we are absolutely certain that joy cometh in the morning. We are a people filled with optimism. We are stuffed with resilience. We know that together we are masters of our faith, F-A-T-E, and we are possessed of F-A-I-T-H. And collectively, we have an unconquerable soul. St. Vincent and the Grenadines, as I outlined in my talk today, is unique in many historical particulars. And it always bears repeating, because you don't get it from any history written by the Europeans, and you do not quite get it from those who are concerned only with chronicling history, as distinct from going behind the information, the knowledge, the data, and to have a true understanding of what has happened. And to let that understanding evolve into a wisdom. We apply our hearts to wisdom and arrive at mature judgments. I used to teach the social sciences, and there are many, many lectures you can deliver on what I've just said. But I prefer to formulate the matter in the way in which the Hebrew people did in the book of Ecclesiastes and in the Proverbs, because they touch more our spirit. From the very beginning, the political organization which I head has always had at its center the further advancement and ennoblement of our Caribbean civilization, of which there is a magnificent Vincentian component. And within that component, the Kalinago and the Garifuna hold a very special place in helping to create the frame, the sense and sensibility of a better St. Vincent and the Grenadines. There's so many things which we have to correct. In this audience this evening, there are more women than men. More women than men here this evening, I've observed. And the women have played a very critical role in evolution in our civilization, in our space, geographic space, seascape and landscape. The Kalinago and Garifuna women. The women who were brought here as enslaved African bodies. The women who came as indentured servants from Madeira or India. These women are who made us. In my own case, I had a very good father, but my mother fathered me. The bulk of the people, the bulk of the Garifuna and Kalinago who were taken to Baliso, the bulk of them were women. And the bulk of those who were landed in Rotan Island in 1797, the bulk of them were women. Indeed, there were far more women landed on Rotan, women and children, than men. Now, what is interesting about this and the way in which colonialism distorts our minds? In every area of the world where we have had genocide, whether it's in Latin America or in North America, whether in Canada or in the United States, doesn't matter whether the colonialism was British, French, German, or whatever. One of their functions was their purposes is the denigration and cheapening of women. Those persons who are here, who have lived through the post-World War, Second World War period and before, and hear their parents talk about it. Just like in North America, they saw the women in the American Indians as cheap. They did the same thing here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines and had these notions against our women. At the very time when we didn't have prostitution in Uremine or in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The streets of London, Manchester, and even Oxford and Cambridge were filled with prostitutes. Because that was the evolution of capitalist society. Then for the men, everywhere colonialism carried out genocide, as they did in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. said the men were lazy and they were drunkards. They love rum. In the case of north of the Dry River, they even drink Jack Iron. You hear them? Yes, yes, yes. Well, in our reaffirmation of the values of family, of community, of resilience, of working together, despite modern means of communication and Twitter and cultural imperialism, we have been able substantially to correct those negative notions of our women and of our men. This has happened imperceptibly. As the evangelicals say, day by day, sweet Jesus. It has happened. That is part of our further advance and the further nobility of our civilization. Oh, to be sure, we have a host of problems and challenges, some homegrown, but some brought to us from outside. You know, colonialism was in charge of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, British colonialism, for nearly 200 years. By the time I was about to go to secondary school in 1959, as a boy of 12 years old, 12 plus. In the 200 years, British colonialism had built 2 schools. One for boys, secondary schools, and one for girls. One for each 100 years of colonialism. Yes. Since 2005, every single 12-year-old in this country was in a secondary school and still is in a secondary school. Everyone, once you're 12, you get there. And then you go to the community college and then you go to the university. We are on target now by 2030 to have 1 college graduate, college or university graduate per household on an average. And though we just had Hurricane Beryl in July last year, July the 1st, which caused damage and loss to 30% of our gross domestic product. That is to say, the aggregate of all the goods and services, the value of all the goods and services produced in that year, last year. But yet this year, in our budget, we increased our expenditure on college and university education by over 30%. Because whilst we build the foundations of our civilization, the values, systems of behavior in our culture, and lift all of that higher, we have to have a solid economic base. Without the economic base, we're not going to be able to sustain this upsurge in the cultural renaissance and the reclamation. No. Just as we have to shake off the ideational cobwebs of over 200 years of this incubus, a beautiful old word, I-N-C-U-B-U-S, incubus, meaning evil spirit of colonialism, the incubus of colonialism. We have to transform in a short period of time a colonial or amended colonial economy and build a post-colonial one, which is modern, competitive, many-sided, which is at once local, national, regional, and global. And among the things required for that is to have unlimited supplies of skilled labor priced at an appropriate level in the International Division of Labor, as distinct from the old economy, the colonial or amended colonial economy, which depended upon unlimited supplies of unskilled and cheap labor. In short, we have to move these things together in tandem. And it's not always easy. It's not always easy. And as I hear they call me in the Caribbean now the elder statesman, as the oldest man on the block. I have to speak in a particular way and try to provide guidance with a particular philosophy and policies and programs, so that these two parallel tracks of that which is material and that which is non-material to work in tandem, each of them feeding each other in ways which you cannot comprehend, because both of them depend fundamentally on the genius of our people and the hidden rationalities resident in that genius. So, we have acquired Baliso. We have taken Baliso to our national patrimony as of March the 4th, a historic day. And now we have to go forward to decide what we are going to do together with Baliso. Now there are two responses to acquiring Baliso, which come from the same language declaration. That this is just the start. In other words, some who say it's just the start, they mean to diminish it. In other words, they want us to embrace a kind of learned helplessness. But the same declaration is just the start. in my head, means together and with our friends overseas, the nation of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, at home and abroad, and the Garifuna family, and our friends overseas, to build something on Baliso, which is of such a quality, and to lift our memory and our remembrance. Not to live in the past, but to take us in a future, which of all time is the only time which we can desecrate. And we must not desecrate Baliso. Which means that we have to put in place a mechanism. I repeat what I said today. A commission, a task force, whatever name you want to give this body, properly staffed and resourced, for us to have a master plan as to what we are going to do with Baliso. We know the frame. It is stated in the notice of the declaration that it is to form part of our national patrimony. It is historic, it is cultural, it addresses identity, it addresses civilization. And our particular civilization, because there's a thing called the Caribbean civilization, which is authentic, which is legitimate, and which possesses nobility, and within it, a central role for Kalinago and Garifuna, as it is for other ethnicities and peoples, but we are talking today about Kalinago and Garifuna. And we have to lodge this within the frame of reparations and sustainable development. In September 2015, this government, along with all other countries of the United Nations, signed on to the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. And among those goals, addresses issues touching on culture and meaningful lives and livelihoods in all different dimensions. And there are dozens of actions under each of the goals. And goal 17 says that we must build, developing and developed countries must build efficacious partnerships in order to achieve the other 16 Sustainable Development Goals. I know it is now in the year 2025 commonplace for rich countries to say, at least particular nativist factions in rich countries, to say we have to cut aid, we have to cut supports. We know that, we have heard that. We have seen even the British Labour Party government cut overseas aid to strengthen the military because of Ukraine. That's why we need to solve Ukraine. Among those things that affects us. But we have to get it out of our heads that every time when we seek to invoke goal number 17 of building efficacious partnerships, we don't have fifth columnists in our midst, including assorted opportunists who say, all you want to do is beg. Well, with reparations, we ain't begging. Because we are asking for repairing because of the legacy of underdevelopment, occasioned, caused by native genocide and the enslavement of African bodies. Now, as you will see, Baliso is wrapped up with foreign policy. The minister is going off next week to India, Minister of Foreign Affairs. It is wrapped up with economics and economic trade. It's wrapped up with building infrastructure and technologies, apply them. Spoke today about the Rabaka Bridge. The very airport which you landed at, the international airport. When you land there, you probably didn't know that existing there prior to 2008, when we started the construction. You had 2 mountains and 2 hills to be brought low, 4 valleys to be filled, 140 middle and upper middle income houses to be removed and caused to be built elsewhere. We had to span a stream and a river. We had to move a small hotel and 2 guest houses. I had to move a church and a cemetery and had them located elsewhere. And then, I'm reminded, I'm coming to that one, the petroglyphs. And the petroglyphs, we knew that some existed, but we discovered others. The writings of the Garifuna and the Kalinago people. And I was told getting to deal with the petroglyphs was a problem, you know. I contacted the Egyptians. They came because we want to preserve them. They're written on stones. And you had to get them off because you had to blast the stones to build the airport. Of course, they came, they went back. As soon as they went back, Mubarak was overthrown, and Morsi won the election. There was so much turmoil, we had to forget about the Egyptians. I even went to the Vatican, because they're very good at these things. The Holy Father, the Holy See couldn't help. Went to the Italians, they were a little slow. We eventually ended up with the Argentinians, and they helped us with that. Of course, the Cubans and the Mexicans and the Venezuelans helped otherwise. They helped otherwise, but I'm talking about the petroglyphs. I was told, why am I holding up the building the runway? I said, as important as building this international airport is, I will not go down in history as a Philistine who built the airport and destroyed the We did both. Where you come in there, the land on which you put your feet, that land was Kalinago and Garifuna land. But immediately after 1763, the British government gave General Monckton, the leader, the military leader for the British in the 7 Years' War, who received the French surrender. They gave General Monckton 4,000 acres of land. From Stubbs, going down to Bayabu. Going north to Bayabu. Monckton, of course, didn't set foot here. He sold the lands, make a good piece of change, make some good money. And of course, British took the lands, left the Garifuna and the Kalinago without any. And also didn't leave any for the enslaved African bodies who were freed in 1838. That airport was built with creative resistance. I'll tell you, and I'm laying the frame for Baliso. The traditional entities which would help us would be the Caribbean Development Bank. No loan was available there. No room in the inn. European Investment Bank, no. The World Bank, no. The agencies of the British, American, and Canadian government, no. They thought, and so did a lot of Sanballats and Tobias of the Ammonites, who held the same position when the prophet built and Nehemiah sought to rebuild the city walls around Jerusalem after it was broken for 112 years. They criticized you, they mocked you. They even led conspiracies against you. But we did it. You know how we did it? We did it with our own ingenuity at home and whatever resources we can muster, including hidden resources were hidden or ill-utilized. We did it with Vincentians overseas. And we did it with Cuba and Venezuela. We did it with Trinidad and Tobago, and Austria, and Turkey, and Mexico, and Libya, led by Gaddafi, and Iran, led by President Ahmadinejad, by Taiwan. Did I say Turkey? Yes. And Austria. And Georgia under Mikhail Saakashvili. And several of those names that I call didn't have diplomatic relations with one another, didn't talk to one another. But we brought everybody together to carry that out. It is the same spirit with which we will build something meaningful at Baliso. Yes. Those who wish to have inspiration can read the book of Chronicles. The Hebrew people under David, they decided that they're going to build the temple to house the Ark of the Covenant. Oh, they criticized those who didn't see the vision, who didn't understand the significance of the temple to house the Ark of the Covenant. Professor Denny, they didn't understand that. What they did, they started to criticize. It's too expensive, and you'll get that, you know. People want food. What about Mary House up in Sandy Bay, which needs some galvanized? And why the money which you're taking to do something in Bali, so you ain't do Mary, change Mary galvanized on she roof, and you will get all of that, as though they will not be galvanized to be fixed all the time. You can't stop fixing galvanized. It's in the nature of the wear and tear. You'll have to be fixing them all the time. And if you only fix galvanized and fascia board and do nothing else, you ain't going to make the progress, you know, to do everything together. And of course, David was not permitted to build the temple to house the Ark of the Covenant because he was a man of war. And this was a matter for peace. And Solomon had to do it. It's there. The inspiration is there in the book of Chronicles. It's there also in the book of Nehemiah. For those who don't want to look to their own history and see how we have triumphed over adversities. And we will do something remarkable in Baliso. And we will have a plan. And we will go to our friends with that plan. And we will do something magnificent. And I will start it. If my mortal being doesn't permit me to finish it, somebody will finish it. But it will be done. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister. And to our brothers and sisters from the Garifuna delegation, I think that we've welcomed you home twice. First to Urme, your ancestral home, and also to the Prime Minister's home. I really hope that you feel the warmth and hospitality. We have come to the point of wrapping up the program now. And we have a new kid on the block. She's the newly appointed Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Tourism, Civil Aviation, Sustainable Development and Culture, Dr. Tamira Brown. And I think this might be your first official outing, is it? No? Okay, it's not. Dr. the Honorable Ralph Gonsalves, Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and Mrs. Gonsalves, Honorable Rochelle Ford, Speaker of the House of Assembly, Honorable Frederick Stevenson, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Foreign Trade and Consumer Affairs, Honorable Carlos James, Minister of Tourism, Civil Aviation, Sustainable Development and Culture, other members of Cabinet, members of the Diplomatic Corps, all members and officials of the visiting delegations, other members of the Garifuna Heritage Foundation, permanent secretaries, heads of departments, civil servants, good evening. This evening, I had the opportunity to listen diligently to the themes presented in all presentations. And I heard welcome home so many times. It made me pause and reflect and scribble a little bit about what is home and where is home. Home is sacred
It is more than walls and a roof. It is the heartbeat of belonging, the sanctuary where souls find healing and where souls find rest. It carries the whispers of ancestors, the unbreakable bonds of love. It is where the spirit is nurtured, where traditions are passed down like sacred hymns, and where the essence of who we are is rooted, our beloved Yurume. To our visiting delegations, visiting groups, faculty, thank you for coming home. This tonight is for you. To our Prime Minister and Mrs. Gonzalez, as well as the Office of the Prime Minister, we say thank you so much for attributing this level of attention to ensuring that our visiting delegations feel welcome at home. To Minister Stevenson and the staff of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Foreign Trade, and Consumer Affairs, specifically the staff of the Regional Integration Diaspora Unit. We say thank you for ensuring that everything is in place for an exceptional evening. To my minister, Minister James, and all the staff at the Department of Culture for their tireless effort and for ensuring attention was paid to detail every step of the way, we say thank you for everything tonight. And to our media representatives who capture the moments, of the meaning of what it means to be home, we say thank you. API, you're never short of anything other than being amazing. And to everyone who has contributed in one way or another, the educational insights shared tonight, the conference presentations over the last few days, we say thank you so much. Home is not just a place, it is a feeling of safety, the warmth of being held in the embrace of history and hope. I hope for all the contributions that have been made tonight, you have learned a little bit of your history and you are hopeful of what is to come. Thank you so much, everyone. We appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Brown. And ladies and gentlemen, this is where we bring the curtains down on this cocktail, on the official part of the cocktail reception. I want to thank you so much, first for your attendance and also for your attention. My name is Marlon Anton James, and it's been a pleasure to enjoy the evening. Thank you. Thank you.